Okay, so this is Leighton Brush with Pretzels History. We're here at the Lititz Wolf Sanctuary to meet with one of the tour guides named Michelle Mancini. She's going to show us around the facility, tell us about the wolves, where do they come from, what do they do, what do they eat, how do they have fun, and we're going to find out about how COVID-19 is affecting their organization here. It's one of my favorite places to go in Lititz. It's the Lititz Wolf Sanctuary in Lititz, PA. So we're here with Michelle Mancini at the Wolf Sanctuary in Lititz. Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Michelle Mancini. I work here at Wolf Sanctuary of PA. We're a nonprofit rescue facility for gray wolves and wolf dogs. We've been here since 1980, and currently we have over 50 wolves and wolf dogs residing here.
Yeah, so if you could tell us a little bit about the Wolf Sanctuary, when was it founded and who founded it?
Sure. So Wolf Sanctuary PA was founded in 1980, basically out of a love of wolves. So it was founded by the Darlington family, Bill and Barbara Darlington. They had acquired gray wolves and wolf dogs and were raising them and giving them a home. And in the 1980s, the laws changed in Pennsylvania, requiring certain permits from the State Game Commission and the federal USDA, the government, as well as certain fencing requirements and other things like that. So they went ahead and they complied with all of those restrictions and requirements. And then at that time, the Game Commission started to call them as other folks weren't complying. They'd have other animals that they had to confiscate, and they would call the Darlingtons and ask if they could take another one under their permit. So we've sort of always been a rescue from the very beginning, and we continue to be that way today. We're still taking them in, rescues, as we can, based on whether or not we have enough resources to do so.
Okay, great. I think we're getting a little bit of backlight off of the sun there, so.
Okay, well I can introduce them first. So this is Vivian. No.
Vivi, ooh, look at you.
Off the fence.
Pretty
Off
dog.
the fence.
Wolf.
Thank you. This is Vivian. That's Fenn, the tallest one. He's the male. Those are the other two over there. That's Shiloh, and Hera just walked away. Here, this is Vivian again. This is Violet. Violet.
I'm surprised you can even tell them apart, honestly.
Get down. And then that in the back is Freya. She's usually very social with just me, but she's shy with anybody else. If I come up here with anybody else, she gets a little bit nervous, so she hangs back a little bit further. What's up, Ben? These guys just turned 3 years old. So again, there are 6 siblings total. Okay, we're gonna hang out. There are 6 siblings total, and we did have to separate 2. So they live next door now because the sisters, after 3 years, were no longer getting along, which is what happened. So these guys are over here, these 4, and then Hera and Shiloh are next door. So.
They like getting pet, huh?
Oh, yes.
Just like regular dogs.
Well, we did socialize with them from a young age. So, again, oh gosh.
Pet my belly.
Oh, I can't reach you. No, I'm on the other side. Oh, Vivian.
Vivian.
So these guys are very, very social with humans because we raised them from a young age and they were interacting with humans from a young age. Wolves actually, there's been studies that show that they start to build up trust and bonds at just a few weeks old, sometimes before they even open their eyes. Now, we rescued this pack when they were very young, so they were, I think, around 8 weeks when we got them, so not quite that young. However, the place that had them before us, it was another animal park. They just didn't have the resources to have puppies at the time, so they sought rescue, and we were able to take them in. And because they were so young and they were handled by people, they're very social. Now, Shiloh and Hera were actually removed and handled by people, removed from being with their mother and handled by people later than the other two by about 2 weeks at the other place again. So they're really shy, and you notice they didn't really come up to the fence quite as much. These guys really did. And so it's a big difference there between those 2 weeks of socialization. It's just totally different. But yeah, so some of the animals we have here are very social, other ones are really shy and they hang back, and we respect both, so.
Awesome.
So I will admit, my best opportunity to get them to howl is here. So now they just left me,
Now,
but I can try.
How can you get them to howl? I guess we're all wondering.
I will howl, but I will see if they want to. So I'm going to embarrass myself, and we can go ahead and cut this out if it doesn't work. Okay. All right, let me try.
Here they come. Hey, Megan. You mind if you might want to get this.
Oh God. Benny.
And one guy's showing it, the other guy who's boss.
Yeah. Okay.
He must be the alpha.
So this is a bunch of dominance displays. Benny. So they're basically displaying dominance with each other. I guess Ben decided that Vivian howling without him was inappropriate, and so he told Vivian off, at which point she told Freya off.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
And that's what's going on.
Sorry, because I'm trying to get the other two wolves.
It's just some dominance displays amongst the three. Of course, the other female is hanging back so that she doesn't get picked on.
So who's the big guy there? Is he Benny? Is that what you said?
Oh, I have nicknames for them, but his name is Fen. His name is Fenrir. We call him Fen for short.
Oh,
so.
Fen.
Can you guys come over here?
If at any point you want to try the camera, just because you're more familiar with it, let me know.
Sure, I can
Just
give it a shot.
So he's standing on top of, it's very far away, but the tail position shows the dominance a lot. So he'll stand on top of her with his tail out straight and kind of nibble or chew near her face. And then she's supposed to submit, which is showing her belly and tucking her tail. At which point, the thing with this pack is they weren't raised by their parents, wolf parents. And so what happened is they were raised by humans. And so their hierarchy isn't quite the hierarchy that you might see in the wild. They don't necessarily know, well, they don't have to hunt either, so they don't really need to depend on that hierarchy to survive. So instead, you get kind of a pseudo hierarchy where they just have certain levels of dominance in their own personality, and that's just expressed in different ways. So again, Fen showed his dominance over Vivian, at which point she felt the need to show her dominance over Freya. And so that's just all body language and communication, which is two of the three main ways that wolves communicate, the third being scent.
Now, why do they do that?
So it all has to do with the howl, sort of. So Vivian started howling first, and I'm just kind of basing it based off of the behavior that I just witnessed. Fen was a little late to the party when we started the howl, so he probably got a little bothered that he wasn't included, and so then he kind of decided to tell Vivian off, and so on down the line. So, yep.
It's just like a little family feud.
Yes, and it's always the case, but it's all just body language and verbalization and behavior. It's nothing serious. It was all just, they're just talking to each other.
Sure.
Loudly. So I'm gonna come back out to walk with you guys.
Okay.
And then you got the other two down there then?
well, they were in the same. I think they were part of this, so they came running up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were separate. That's why I had to.
All right, let me think about. So we're gonna go down this way, but I will preface it by saying that there's some wolves down here that are shy and some that are nervous, and the ones that get nervous sometimes, their way of expressing that will be to bark. So if I ask you to kind of move away or turn your back to somebody, it's just because they're uncomfortable and they're barking for that reason. So it's Yogi is.
Oh, okay. Yes, as long as we're not.
The walking pad. You can set this, but it doesn't look good.
It's like Jurassic Park.
I know, right?
Now inside. Yeah, we have double fences. This is part of the requirements from the USDA. Oh, I'm just grab that. Got this. So the double fences are requirements of the USDA and the Game Commission. They each have their own kind of requirement for the fence height and the distance from the fences, so we make sure we're in compliance with all of that. So all of the enclosures that we're passing, we're like 2 fences away.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So this is still them, the Serenity Pack. You can see how big the enclosures are. Kind of, we're walking around, a quarter or actually half of their enclosure. All of the enclosures range from, I think, about 1 to 3 acres, depending on the size of the pack, their activity level, and those kinds of factors. So like senior wolves, if there's only 1 or 2, they're going to have a smaller area than a pack of 4 3-year-olds who have a much larger forested area. So no need for this. We're gonna keep going because I don't want them to get
Are we making them get anxious or?
No, there's still just body language. I just don't like to linger, and then it could escalate. That's all.
Okay.
But they're not escalating right now. Friends
Film the wolves too. You don't have to just film
He's
up.
not usually
I know,
this
I'm trying.
feisty. He's like feeling good today. I don't know what his deal is. It's really also not Fen I'm worried about. It's the females. I don't want them to get into an issue because he's feeling playful.
Frisky. Yeah.
He's very playful. He's never this playful. It's funny. So as she's walking, you can sort of see, she is a wolf dog. You can see the physical differences. Part of one of the physical differences is that her tail is curled. So wolves typically have a tail that hangs down relaxed and straight. And part of the reason is they communicate with their tails. So like I was just talking about, the dominance displays and different things like that. So if their tail is curled, it could get confusing in the wild if they're really using their tails to communicate how they're feeling. So anyway, wolf dogs will typically have more of a curl to their tail. She does have a scent gland in the middle of her tail, which is that black spot on the middle of her tail. It's a scent gland, so it's part of that scent marking I talked about. And it looks like she has a nice, big, juicy leg. There she goes.
Now, what is that? What kind of bone is that she has in her mouth?
It's some sort of hoof from a recent donation that we've received. We get local donations of cow and deer, especially from local hunters and farmers. We'll get donations of a variety of farm animals if they're older or sick or something and they have to get put down. So they will contact us to donate meat.
Sorry.
So they are meat eaters, so they eat a variety of meats, and they do consume the whole animal. So yeah.
And where does the food come from?
So we have been really lucky. Most, if not all, of our meat has been donated to us. So it comes from local farms, local hunters, local folks just visiting on a tour will bring meat donations, steaks and things like that. And then we also get donations from different organizations. Sometimes like a grocery store or something might have a large quantity of ground beef that was mislabeled, but it's still fresh, but they can't sell it to the public because of a labeling issue or something. So then they will actually bring it to us. And we inspect everything before we distribute it to the wolves and make sure it's fresh and whatnot. Yeah, so we get donations from all over and we're really grateful.
Okay, and I don't know if he got the one about the tail with the curved or not. So
Sure.
what's it with the straight and the curve again? I forget.
Yeah, so I was just talking about some differences between wolves and wolf dogs. So one of the behavioral or physical differences between a wolf and a wolf dog has to do with their tail. So a wolf dog might be more likely to exhibit a curly tail. Again, that might come from the husky or shepherd or something that they're mixed with. Whereas a wolf, their tail typically hangs kind of down straight. And a lot of that has to do with they communicate with their tail. In the wild, their tail position says a lot about whether they're dominant or submissive or how they're feeling. So a curly tail might get confusing. So domestic dogs might have a curl to their tail, and therefore wolf dogs might also have that trait. But a gray wolf, a full gray wolf, isn't going to have that trait.
So their tail's straight, or
Typically straight, yeah. So Freya's tail, it just hangs right down.
straight down.
Unless she's feeling dominant and then it goes up,
Yeah.
or if she's feeling submissive, it's going to curl under. But she positions her tail based on those behaviors. Her relaxed state, it's straight. Yeah. They get fed 6 days a week. They don't always get. The 7th day is a fast day, which is good for their metabolism. Some of them will get like a small supplement treat. They might get enrichment, like bones or something like that. But I think that that's probably the meal from yesterday. I wouldn't suspect that that was from this morning, given that today's Friday. So. Oh.
I hope I'm pointing this down low enough. I have no idea where I'm pointing at, but I'm trying to make it center.
Showing it off.
She
Like
had
I
a
said,
little
I
body
can't see either,
language
so
coming around him. She was very cautious. She didn't want him to think that she was bothering him.
Huh.
But she followed her trail. They always follow the same trail. There she goes.
Did you get that, Megan?
Yeah.
They follow the same trail? Okay.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, the other wolf.
So he's the one that's very shy. So we're not going to actually, I don't want to film him too, even though he's like right next to the fence, which would be great. But he's, he usually really doesn't like cameras. He doesn't like people like staring at him. And I suspect the only reason he's being quiet is because he has his giant leg right there, and it's more important for him to protect that and to keep an eye on his companion than to worry about us. So we're just going to leave him alone so he can continue his business. Yeah.
That works for us. We don't want to bother him, you know.
No.
This might sound like a funny question, but you know how dogs will like play catch, they'll like chase after balls and sticks and stuff. Do wolves do that kind of stuff, or is that like totally not them?
They love to play. If something were thrown or was rolling through their enclosure or moving at a fast rate, they do have kind of a prey drive, so it inspires them to chase it. Whether or not they bring it back, I don't think they would bring it back. Because again, they don't have that desire to please people.
Yeah.
So once it's theirs, and chances are you're not getting it back. So I don't think they would play fetch, but they would chase after stuff, for sure, yeah. The biggest way that we try to engage them with play and enrichment is really just to make sure they have a suitable companion that's at the same kind of level that they are. This pack, it's really easy because they were born together, you know, they're siblings. Others, like Cheyenne and Yogi, we've had to introduce to each other, which can be a process, so.
Is that why you have a pool in the ball for them?
Yeah, so, well, yes, sort of. So the pool is a nice way for them to freshen up and cool off. We do have, their water buckets are separate from the pool. They're things that we freshen up every week. The big tubs we freshen up a little bit less frequently, maybe every other week or so, something like that. But it's a nice area for them to cool off and play in the summertime. And the big toy on top is an enrichment toy. It's actually a big, they make them for zoo animals like bears and things like that. And we put it in the pool because we found on the ground they weren't that crazy about playing with it because they can't get their teeth around it, which was intentional. Their jaw pressure is tremendous, so we didn't want a toy that they could destroy and possibly consume parts of. So we were like, this thing's indestructible. But then it made it a lot less fun for them to play with. So we put it in the pond, and then they like to kind of bat it around sometimes, and it gives them some enrichment. Their favorite form of enrichment, though, aside from having a companion, is you know, the bones that they have and the natural toys and treats and stuff. So, We can go see them if you want.
Sure, let's go.
Oh, here she comes.
Exactly. So you have to, right. Yeah, so you have to focus on like the wolf. Yep. And like I said, your zoom out, you just have to kind of play with it.
These guys too.
Now, which one is that?
That's Vivian again.
Vivian, she likes you.
Yes.
She likes getting pet
She
too.
likes attention.
Sure does.
Yes. Yep, so that's Vivian. And then moving along here, this is Isabel and Helena. Get down. Off, off. Good girl. So this is Izzy, Isabel, and that's Helena. You can really see Helena shedding. You can see there's big clumps of fur coming off on the sides. That's totally natural and normal for the summertime look. As they start to shed out their coats. They actually, usually in the spring, they look really scrawny and kind of silly. And then in the winter, they'll bulk up a whole lot more. And that's all just to withstand the temperatures and keep comfortable. And they have 2 layers of fur, which enables them to do that. So her undercoat is coming out, and then that outer coat stays on. And then in the fall, she'll grow that undercoat back in again.
So do you guys groom them then, like help with the whole process of...
The ones that are social, we will help along to the extent that they allow us. So Helena is very shy. That's the other one. So she doesn't really let anyone touch her that much. There's only a handful of people that can. And one of them, you know, along the fence would be petting her and just would work on her fur while she's along the fence. But for the most part, they're actually able to get the shedding out by themselves. Some of the older ones have a little bit more trouble with it. And so during their vet visits, especially if they're not handleable, if they have to be sedated for a vet visit, then we'll do the grooming then. And if it becomes a problem, then we'll specifically groom them on purpose for that reason. But for the most part, they're able to handle it themselves, or the ones that are social, we help it along. Izzy and Helena are both wolf dogs. They were rescued separately and introduced to each other. Oh, everybody got buns. Oh, that's the big one. It was a big bone day yesterday, I guess. Keep them happy all weekend. Izzy was another animal that we rescued as a puppy. Helena was rescued at, I think she was already a year or 2 old when we got her. Whereas Izzy was just, again, a couple weeks old when we got her. So she's very, very social. She's very social. And she is a wolf dog. Again, she's full grown. She's 2 now, so she's full grown. But you can see, here she's still shedding. Yeah. You can see the physical differences again. She's smaller in stature. She's got, her body shape is different than the other, the Serenity pack over there. You can see that little curl to the tail. And her overall physical body type, she's a little bit, her build is a little bit kind of stockier overall than a wolf, even though she looks a little thin right now because it's summertime. This is her summertime look. Wolves are much more tall and lanky. What?
He supposed to come out probably and be closer to you.
Oh, there he is. And Goose is on top of the platform. Blue's closer. I do want to point out that
Hey there.
usually when we have the enclosures next to each other, we have 2 fences in between. And that helps to decrease stress and anxiety between the packs. This is one of the few enclosures on the property where we have a single fence in between 2 packs that are next door to each other. Usually, this single fence is meant for introductions. So when we first get a rescue and we're trying to introduce them to another rescue, we want to see how they interact along a single fence before we actually introduce them to each other. Some of the wolves, if they're very young, obviously, like, we'll name them. Isabel was named here. But if they are already named and they derive some sort of recognition from their name and it was like a positive situation, we will necessarily sometimes keep their name. So Blue and Goose kept their name. Other wolves have kept their name, whereas other ones we've changed. So
I'm trying to get them. I think I got them, but then I lost.
We'll be able to put one of them into there without.
It's really hard to say because dynamics can change over time. So hopefully these guys live long and happy lives, and by the time they're older, we don't know what the dynamic's going to be like with these two, what their situation's going to be like. So it's really hard to say that far in advance. Although we are always thinking of, who we can pair with who, especially if there's a lone wolf. So, could be that they would still have a good relationship throughout the course of their entire lives. But we've actually had packs, a pack that worked really well together. In one case it was a pack of 3, in another case it was a pack of 2 that I can think of, where they had a falling out. After years and years of living together harmoniously, they just no longer were, and we had to separate them. So actually Cheyenne, her former companion, lives with another companion now because they had a really bad disagreement after years and years of living together harmoniously. So so even though they're neighbors and they're harmonious right now, we always watch their body language and their behavior for changes.
Yeah.
Again, the Serenity Pack, we always used to think, if it's a family and they're raised together, they're going to be more likely to stay together. But they had a falling out, same thing, we had to split them up. So we're always looking at the body language and just making sure everybody's happy.
And then, how many of these wolves live by themselves in one pen?
Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess. Right now we have 5. So one just lost her companion. We saw her howling.
Yeah.
One is Anastasia, which we can walk up there, but I'm going to tell you right now, she's not going to come anywhere near the fence, and you're going to get grass. So I think we're going to head back this way, actually. And she's very, very shy, and we've tried her with a couple different companions, and it just really hasn't worked out. And we're still looking, but she seems to be happy. She's eating well.
So she's
alone.
what you would call like a lone wolf type?
Yeah, which is actually very unusual. It's not a common thing. It's a common thing in pop culture, but in real life, in the wild, a lone wolf is going to have a really, really hard time surviving. So typically they're only going to be alone for a short period of time while they're searching for another pack. A lone male might leave his pack to breed because he's not allowed to breed within the pack because of the hierarchy of the pack. So he might go searching for a new mate, and in that time period he might be alone, but he's on his way to find a new pack. So it is atypical, but Anastasia seems to be doing okay. So all the others, so one just lost her companion, 2 others we are in the process of introducing to each other, so they're actually along a single fence right now. They had their first date this week, I think. It went pretty well from what I heard. So we do we'll have the single fence, and then we'll introduce them, while we're in there and see how they interact together in person, and then we'll separate them, and then we'll introduce them again. It might go over time like that. So the wolves' lives have remained unaffected. However, the tours have really declined. We did have to shut down for a period, which is a huge financial hit. The tours had been our primary source of income, and now we can only do tours by reservation. We're slowly starting to increase the size of the tours, but we're still obviously exercising caution and listening to recommendations from the authorities and whatnot, what we can do. And so we've switched to really kind of pushing for donations. symbolic adoptions. People can adopt a wolf for the year. And that's kind of nice because if you do get on a reserve tour, you can see your wolf afterwards for an extra 15 minutes. So it's kind of a cool perk. And stay in touch about the wolf's health and their life and stuff like that. So we have been pushing things like that, but it's really, we really need to ramp up those tours soon. And unfortunately, right now, we're kind of limited to the by reservation. So still running tours, but limited availability. So
Okay, so now, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Go ahead if you have anything else.
No, that's kind of my main point.
Okay. So now I have two questions. You just said about you can spend 15 minutes with your own wolf. Does that mean you can actually play with it, pet it?
No.
Oh.
No, it's still the same. But you get it's a benefit because if you're on a public tour, you get to see about half the wolves. A private tour, you get to see the whole sanctuary. So if you're on a public tour, but your adopted wolf is not, then you can spend an extra 15 minutes with your guide walking up to see them. So you're still not interacting with them, but you can see them and take pictures or whatever. So.
And then my second question is, we did not know that there was an actual bed and breakfast here.
Yes.
So, was that the house that's down the hill while we were walking up? Is that the bed and breakfast, or is it the one behind the gate, Cecily?
So the main big mansion is the main mansion of the bed and breakfast. The bed and breakfast is a separate business. It's called Speedwell Forge B&B. And the owner of the bed and breakfast is the president of the sanctuary, but there's no financial overlap between the two. However, as a perk staying at the B&B, you can walk the perimeter trails during non-tour hours, so you can kind of enjoy the property and see the wolves and whatnot. So it's really cool. So there were a few, right now, I think only the cottages are open. So actually the smaller buildings, there's a small stone building called the Paymaster's Cottage. There's a building with a red roof and a deck, that's called the White House. And then there's another stone building right next to the mansion. It's the summer kitchen. So those are the 3 cottages open for rent, part of the B&B.
Gotcha. That's my last one. Is the gift shop open at all?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have actually revamped it to make it COVID safe.
Nice.
So we have kind of plexiglass and screens and stuff. And we are only open to visitors 2 at a time. So it's a little bit of a slower flow, but we're trying to reduce like crowding of lots of people inside one small contained building. But it is open. We also put our gift shop catalog online, and we're starting to do more online sales. From the catalog, you can call to place an order, and then there's some stuff available you can order right online on the website. So our website is wolfsanctuarypa.org, and right on there's lots of places where you can donate. Pardon, the first section where the photos are anyway, so we'll just skip that junk area. It's also all of our inventory, so we do have a kitty cat here, so I do like to keep this.
Alright.
Yes.
One of us is allergic.
Well, we won't be long. He's upstairs.
Okay, that's cool. As long as he stays up there all day.
So I just was turning the light on. So again, it's all COVID, so not very big, but we have the display areas on either side where we have our stuffed animals. Oh gosh, if you're gonna take pictures, I'm gonna make the stuffed animals look happy.
Don't mind me.
I got this. Don't mind me. Pass them over.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah.
Oh,
You could have a little puppet show back there if you wanted to.
I wish.
I know you would.
I wouldn't mind entertaining kids. I like kids.